Hello and welcome back to awtoolbox.com. My name is Glenn Keller, and in this demonstration we are continuing with our working with data overview. In the previous demonstration we had a part right here in the display that we created manually. And we did that to add or associate some additional attachments of components from a different part. In this video, we have decided that we need a revision to this. So maybe the design spec changes or something along those lines. So just a quick review of what a revision is if you have an item, in this case, a part, it has at least one item revision inside of it, and that has the file data. So things like CAD, PDFs, etc. that help define that data. So in this case, we have this first one released. And what we want to do is revise it so that we can make a change to it and see only the latest working one. So in this case, I can't edit it. We saw that in the previous video. All the edit commands are gone. So I'm going to come in. I need to make a change to it. I'm going to hit ... And I'm going to say new, and you can see there's a revise button. In previous versions, it was save as and revise, or save as or revise. In this case, in 2506, we have a revise button. So I'm going to say revise. And in this case, the goal is to update the existing part, this 00069A. So we're going to revise it to a B, and we're going to keep the same item ID. And that's the key for revising. If I need a new item ID altogether, then we don't want to revise it. We want to save as to create that new ID. So in this case, I get revision B. Maybe it's not the wide component. It's just fixture. I want to clear out the description so that other people can put a description in. And then I have these advanced copy actions where I could say I want, during the revise, the subcomponents, the things related to it, to come forward or to reference the originals. So this top one here is the part. So in that case, notice it says it's going to save as the part. So that gives me a new part. If I make a change in my CAD system, then it won't affect the original design. And that's kind of what I want. Now, down below, you can see it's references. If my PDF is going to change at all, or my drawing is going to change at all, then I would want a different setting here. So I can save as, I can revise it, what have you. So in this case, I'm going to save as, get a new one completely. And you can see that it's beginning to expand down on different components underneath that. So it's saving as those. And all the other elements like the PDF, I'm not going to make a change to that, so I'm good with referencing it. I'm going to choose revise, but notice I could have it open the new revision by default. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to choose revise. And then you'll notice that the object here has changed. Also notice that I have the ability to edit this object. So the reason it's changed isn't because the other one went away. It's because if I go into where used, notice that there's an item. So we go back to our original drawing. So if we have an item, that item could have one or more item revisions. Item revision, in this case B. And what this is looking at is this is actually picking from this list to show the second one. That's what's going on in the display of Active Workspace. They're both still there. I can open the item down here, choose open, and you can see both revisions are here. So in Active Workspace, the entire interface is actually tuned to show you a specific state of data. So how we look at this is if I change my revision rules. So up inside of my profile, you can see there's a revision rule setting. It is showing me the latest working revision rule. That revision, the new one that I just created, has not been released through a workflow, and therefore it is working. If I come in and I change that to a different revision rule, I'm going to say any status no working. When I do that, it should update the display and you'll see I see the original revision here. So all the revisions are there. You just need to configure your display to show you what data you're intending on seeing. And even if you don't have that display set up, you can use things like where used to identify and locate that other revision if necessary. In this case, I'm going to go back to latest working. So we'll talk more about revision rules there, but just note that what you're looking at, if it's not quite right, make sure you are standing on the correct revision of the correct object. So now at this point, if I go to attachments, you can see that I have the PDF, the UG master, and the drawing. Now, if I change this and say open with NX, I could update the UG master and the drawing, save it back in, but the PDF, if I change that, notice it's still released. So I won't be able to modify that because it's locked down. The other ones don't have the release status because they were saved as. So in here, going through and doing a revise action allows you to create a new instance of that component. Now, if I wanted to, instead of creating this object altogether, I could have just found the original object that was in my system and done it a different way. So in this case, we created an object and manually imported everything. If I do 088 star in the system, I can come down and find that star 66 star. So right here somewhere, we should have this. So we've got the data set that matches that. If I go to the relations tree, it doesn't have any references to it. And all I'm doing is looking for that component. If I pull up this, it's 088966. So I'm just going to change this to a 9 and hit enter to find that specific component. All right, so now I've got it, the finger clamp fixture wide. It's got the component associated to it. This is, if I go to details, you can see it has the UG master, it has a direct model, a UG part, a PDF, has some associated data. So now I've got this here and I wanted to create a new component from it. I don't have to go download all these first. I could just select the one that's here and do a new save as instead of a revise because I want a new part number. So if I do a save as, I'm changing the form fitter function of this object. I'm getting a new part number and I'll call this finger clamp enhanced RH fixture wide. So that's the difference. And then I could say I want during this, notice it's going to wipe out this direct model data set. The direct model is your visualization data. So that'll get regenerated when you save in from CAD. So it's going to remove that reference. It's going to keep a reference to the original PDF. And then the drawing and the associated part is going to get a save as. And then notice that up across the top here, it's going to generate me a new ID. So it is the same component type, so you're just going to get the next ID in sequence. But if I click save here, it'll create this and I can go in and make some additional changes to it. I can go to attachments and see this data, and I've now got my new component. So whenever you're doing a task in the system, whether it's a revise, a creation new, save as, just remember the use case behind it. If you're creating new, you don't have anything you could base it off of. If you're revising, you're changing just something about that revision. You're not really changing what the revision does, the form fitter function of it, but maybe an attribute or something like that, maybe a location code. And then if you're doing a save as, you have something in the system that already exists, but you want to modify it and start with that basic object. So you can take that object and you can do a save as on that object to create a new part based on it. And then you'll get kind of copies of that CAD data that you can modify or update over time. So at this point, I could submit this into the workflow and get a release status on it, get the approvals done. But we'll hold off on that as we need to go into some other details before we get all the way into the workflow itself.